Hi, Luka. Welcome to Scalable.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for joining us. And where are you? You're in an amazing setup, which looks better than our setup.
I know. I was going to say, you're showing us up today.
This was total kismet. I'm helping a friend out with some classes at the University of Iowa, and they happen to have a podcast studio on campus. So the next generation of podcasters are already in training, and I get to borrow their studio for my appearance on Scalable. So I'm excited.
It was meant to be. We're so excited to have you join us. But before we get into it, because I think I'm at least very curious, were you a Chicago Bulls fan before you joined the company?
I was, yeah. I'm Serbian. I was born in Serbia. Basketball is like a huge thing in our culture. So grew up watching basketball with my family. My mom would sit and watch basketball games with my friends and I. And I grew up in the Chicago suburbs. So definitely a big Bulls fan and totally a dream job.
And you've been there for what, 12 years now?
Yeah, 11 years, which is crazy, you know, like it's been crazy to see because that kind of coincided with the rise of content and content marketing being such a focus. So I've been fortunate in the timing to be able to kind of see the growth of that and the evolution of how you reach people.
So tell us a little bit about that, because I was doing a little research on LinkedIn before our conversation, and it looks like you've been working on the content side of things since at least about 2015. And if you kind of think back to that time period, I mean, that's when brands were trying to go viral on Facebook. TikTok didn't even exist then. People weren't really talking about creators. And I think for a lot of companies, influencer marketing even was sort of, at best an afterthought. So what have been some of the biggest shifts and evolutions that you've seen over your time there?
It's been a massive evolution and shift. Before I was at the Bulls, I worked for Edelman and I worked for their sports and entertainment marketing team. My role there started off as being very like PR focused. And I started to see the brands that we worked with get interested in content marketing during my 5 years there. So the North Face and Heineken in particular were two brands that the concept of like, we want to make a video that people will then share and that's going to get our brand in other people's hands was so novel then. That's like the entire concept of TikTok is you make a video that you want people to share and so people see it. So it's kind of funny to think about early 2010s like making a surprise and delight video with that concept being innovative, but it really was. And so when I heard about the role at the Bulls, it was a digital content manager role. I was the first person with that title ever at the Bulls. The Bulls are one of the most followed sports brands in the world. They're the third most followed North American sports team. A lot of that credit goes to Michael Jordan and the 90s Bulls for making it an international global brand. I can't take credit for that, but that's a huge platform, right? That's like an enormous amount of people that you can reach. So it was really exciting to kind of come in there and be able to sort of like build a process. When I started at the Bulls, there was 3 people on the digital team kind of managing the social platforms and digital platforms. And afterthought is a strong word, but it definitely was just like one small team in the wider ecosystem of the Bulls. The content team at the Bulls now 11 years later is 30 people. It's the largest individual team at the Bulls. We have 2 people focused only on influencer marketing. We have people who are specialized in Benny the Bull content. We have, a video team of 10. It's a real part of our business. 3 people focused on digital partnerships, a person thinking about and managing agencies with content in Spanish, French, and Mandarin. It's like the scope is really, really crazy.
Yeah, I mean, related to that, sports isn't really about the game anymore, right? People are watching sports adjacent content from creators and other digital sports channels. On one hand, that offers huge opportunities to sports teams, but are you also worried about kind of diluting your brand or your other properties? I think leagues have evolved a lot where now they're giving creators some access to footage, but like, how do you balance kind of some of the pros and cons that come with sports going on TV?
You have to embrace change. Like it's not just the sports thing. The way that people consume content is different now, right? Like when I was growing up, I had TV, and if I was on the internet in the early days, no one could call the house phone. You know what I mean? Like it's like you had like a limited amount of content options, and now you have infinite content options on your phone, on your TV, like whatever you want to do. Like it's like people can choose their own adventure like every single night, right? And everyone is doing it so differently. I think you'd be remiss not to embrace that. Like it's not a monoculture anymore. Like at the end of the day, we're a basketball team, right? Like our core content product is the games. That's always going to be super important. But not everybody sits down and watches 2.5-hour games anymore, right? Like I think Adam Silver, the commissioner of the league, has kind of hinted at this. Like people consume content in different ways. Like some people follow highlights or listen to podcasts. Some people people have their creators that they kind of focus on and follow. Like everyone is consuming content. It's just done in a different way. There's not like that monoculture anymore. And I think if teams focus only on the games, you're missing out on a lot of people and the time that they're spending interacting with content. Also say sports is cyclical and you can't control the product on the court in terms of how good the team is, right? The Bulls are definitely in a down period in terms of winning and losing. And with that, if all you're offering is the game, you're going to like lose relevancy and have a hard time keeping people engaged. So you need to find other ways to storytell and keep people engaged. It's been cool when you kind of like break down the numbers. We see in social media so many numbers that they can kind of like blur together and like become meaningless after a while. But if you really take a step back and you say like, hey, like these tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people watch this video, engaged with this graphic, like whatever it might be, like that's them spending time with the brand, even if they didn't watch the game last night. I think there's like been a realization across sports that this is the way that you reach people. This is the way that you spend time with them, and you have to get creative with it, and you have to play like with how the industry is going. Like people have different ways of consuming things. Nobody consumes everything in the same way, and you have to diversify yourself as well.
That was so interesting because it's one of the things that, I talked about on stage with Jesser's president, Zach Miller, at the IAB conference where Luka, you and I actually first met. And he was talking about, exactly that people are engaging with sports content in so many different ways. And the creators, of course, are playing such a huge role in that. I mean, Jesser is one of the biggest basketball creators out there. And you actually just had a partnership with him. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that was amazing. And how great of a coincidence, not just that I'm in a podcast studio talking to you, but that we met as you were doing a panel with Jesser's business manager.
Like I said, it was meant to be.
Yeah, it's crazy. So a couple of weeks ago, we did an activation with Jesser. It was his first activation with the team. So for those who don't know, Jesser is a basketball content creator, I would call him, though expanding it beyond basketball as well. He has 37 million YouTube subscribers. Like he is a monster star in the creator space, right? And that's people who are super dedicated, who want to engage with Jesser's content, who get excited when they see him doing things. That's a real audience. That's a real audience that cares about basketball. That's a real audience that's interested in Jesser. And it's not your typical audience, right? It's maybe not the people who have League Pass or are watching the Bulls every night, but like it is a basketball interested audience that it's important for people to focus on. It is that next generation. It's a young audience. It's what's coming next, right? When you think about reaching youth, reaching the young people, like making sure brands stay relevant as generations change and grow up, like that's the next generation. And so we think it's important to reach out to them and engage with them on their terms and kind of play in that space, but we want to do it in a smart way. Like you don't ever want to be a brand that's kind of showing up just because there's an audience without like a plan. Or we have a creator marketing team at the Bulls, Camille and Sophia, who are two of the best in the entire business at their jobs. And, they think like year round about what is our strategy? How are we working with creators? Which creators are we working with? How is this going to come to life? And Jesser has long felt like, the perfect partner for us, both from an audience perspective, but also like the type of content he created and the vibe. So we worked with him and the whole Bucket Squad team on coming up with a plan where he took over a Bulls game. It was one of our Bulls Kid Nation themed games, so we knew there'd be a lot of families, a lot of young people in the crowd that day, and essentially had like a Jesser weekend at the Bulls. He came to the practice facility on Saturday. He met with two of our young rising stars, Josh Giddey and Modest Buzelis. They hung out. One of my favorite like clips that we caught was they were talking and hanging out, and Jesser asked Modest if he could do his celebration after he hit a shot in the game the next day, and then Modest did it. He did the Jesser celebration in the game. So you even involved your players, right?
I was going to ask, how did the players receive this too? Because I feel like creators have become sort of celebrities in their own right now too. And I imagine that, a lot of the players are aware of or follow Jesser as well.
Yeah, for sure. But like the players are getting younger, Modest is like 21 years old. Like he's like in that generation. And I think like they understand it. Like players get it. It's funny, you asked earlier about the big difference from 11 years ago. 11 years ago, you had to convince players like why they would be doing this, like you're like, well, why do I want to like make a video for Facebook or Twitter at the time? Like, and now they're coming in and a lot of them have their own platforms, right? Like they like get it. They grew up with this. They understand it. It's a huge difference. I think they were familiar with Jesser and where they were excited to meet him They understood his audience. It was really cool. And if you watched like the clip of them kind of interacting, they're genuinely like stoked to meet him, you know, like it's like genuinely like a moment. And then on the day of the game, we had a pregame atrium party. Jesser interacted with kids who are in our like youth hoops program. You know, he did a meet and greet. To see the reaction people have in person with Jesser, you know, I was talking with my colleague about this. It's such an encapsulation of like where content culture is today, because Jesser, to a certain age group and some of these kids at this game, was like a demigod. He was like seeing like the most famous, you know what I mean? Like there was kids in tears because they were meeting Jesser. And then there was like this like group of like, you know, 30 plus folks who had no idea who Jesser was. He just like walked by them and they had no idea. And I just wonder if it's the first time in history you can have someone who's that well known and famous to a very specific segment and completely unknown to a different like age group, right? And I think that's an encapsulation of what content is today. For some people, Jesser is the centerpiece of their content diet and what they think about. And for other people, Jesser never comes across their timeline, right? And I think that's so interesting because I think it's a reflection of where we are going as a society. And I think it shows you that like people are choosing like what they're going to engage with, and you need to be smart about, you know, how you kind of show up for those people. So, but yeah, Jesser was amazing. He co-hosted game duties. He did a bunch of timeout skits with us. He hit a half-court shot in one try to like win money for one of our kids' campers. Like it was incredible. It was just like a Jesser takeover game, and like his vibe was so positive and everybody just felt so good about it. We obviously got content from it. Jesser's YouTube channel is going to post a long-form video of it in a few weeks, which will be really exciting to see, as it'll kind of expose the whole thing to his audience as well as ours. But it was really cool. It was really just a way to interact with somebody who's really reaching a certain, you know, segment of the audience that I feel like can be underserved by teams like ours sometimes. And I feel like you're going to see a lot more of this across sports moving forward.
What are the ramifications of that shift that you're talking about? Like the fact that, you know, some people have never come across someone with 37 million subscribers, right? And how does that impact your strategy and how you think about working with creators?
It makes it so that you really need to have a plan, you know, like it's like there's no longer everybody's in one space and all you have to do is make like good content for that space, or people aren't coming to you as much anymore, right? Like you need to like know, okay, who's real in this space, like who's reaching people, how are like audiences engaging, what do people want to see, and what balance can you strike? Like you can't go all in one way or the other, right? Like you need to diversify your content offerings and where your brand is showing up, but you need to do it in smart ways that feel real. And so everything is like so thought through. It's not like, hey, Jesser has 37 million followers, so like let's just spray and pray a bunch of content to reach 37 million people. It just means you probably need to have specialists and think about, you know, how things have evolved. YouTube is so important for like where we're going in the future, and it's so different than any other platform, right? Like on YouTube, your average watch time is measured in minutes, not seconds. People are choosing what videos to watch versus sort of passively being served them. And what that means is you can't treat it exactly the same as you might treat Instagram or TikTok or whatever.
So how do you treat it then? We were going to ask, because I mean, I think there's been, you know, obviously so much momentum around sports on YouTube specifically, and YouTube has been playing into that. And we're seeing more leagues and sports teams really try to build out their strategy. So how do you treat YouTube, and where does it kind of fit into your content priorities?
So we have 5 like content organizational goals that like all of content, all 30 people are like meant to be kind of like working towards. And one of them is like our long form strategy on YouTube. And this is the first year that we've sort of refocused on that. So that means testing. That means like, what are we using for titles and thumbnails to kind of draw people in? How are we structuring videos to kind of keep them? What is the storytelling that we're doing? You sort of recognize like this is where people are spending real time. Using watch time as a KPI over impressions, I think is something that's been like a recent shift for us, because we realize that like what you want is people spending time with your brand. So I think what you've seen probably from the Bulls YouTube this year is a lot of different like tests. Like we have had many different long form types of content, documentary series, kind of features on players. We have tried an hour-long Spanish language podcast that did really well, that I had no idea how that would work with like a former player, but all in Spanish, and that found an audience. Like it is just where people are going to play, but you have to focus on it. It has to be a part of a strategy. You have to have like a plan. You have to think about exactly what you're doing, how you're structuring videos. And we're still doing a lot of testing and learning. But, you know, one interesting fact we learned going into this season, just by looking at our own analytics, was this was the first year that more people were watching our YouTube videos on their televisions than on their phones. So that means like they are watching it like they used to watch television. Like it's like Netflix. Like you pull up YouTube on your TV and you watch it and you have the full screen and your full attention. And that's fundamentally a different kind of content than this more short form kind of TikTok stuff you might see. That stuff is important for sure. And like I think like that continues to be a focus. But I think the point is that YouTube needs to be its own focus and it's almost a separate work stream completely from, the other social platforms.
What are the other four? If YouTube is one priority, what are the other four?
One is just about building like good branded content so that we continue to drive revenue, but like the content remains good and doesn't feel overly commercial. One is to lean into kind of player-focused storytelling. So it's like tell the stories of our players and continue to kind of bring people, closer to these guys as players. One is like a little bit more internal about like how we kind of like work together as a content team. It's a big team. Like we need to be kind of working together. And then one is about defining our audience for what our content is before we create content. So we need to make sure the audience is in mind. We're not making stuff for us. We're making stuff for audiences. And I think that's a good example of like what the Jesser activation was.
So going back to the Jesser activation for just a minute, because, you talked a lot about how you need to show up in the places where people are, but that also sometimes means showing up in real life, right? And I think, the Kid Nation game is such a good example of that. Is that something that you're thinking about kind of repeating, doing again? Is this going to be like an ongoing part of your content strategy?
Yeah, I just think it's important to like have in-person experiences too, right? Like we're also an events business where people are coming in here. And I think like you can make a lot of impact through digital platforms, but like it is also really important to engage people live. This is actually not the first time it's the first time we did a full takeover game with anybody, but it's not the first time that we've brought in a creator. Cam Wilder came out last year, also like a great creator who is big with that audience. And he came out and we did an activation with him and a bunch of kids that went super well. So it's a test case that's been proven to work. And I think you'll continue to see us invest in it. And you're going to see other teams start doing it as well. Like, this is where things are going. You know what I mean? Like this is not going away. So it will be cool to see like what we do, but it will be cool to see what the entire industry kind of does in the space moving forward.
How do you see like potential sponsors or partners coming in as well, kind of beyond creators for these types of events?
Sponsors and partners, they come on board because they also want to reach our audience, right? And I think that, what I like to think is that, given that's one of our goals, is we also find really natural ways to integrate them in ways that are actually like engaging. I feel like your audience, you have a promise to them, right? Like it's like you're following us and because we give you good content and we do great storytelling that engages you and makes you feel closer to the Bulls and whatever it is that you're looking for, hopefully we like deliver on that. I think fundamentally people accept that people will bring partners in to be exposed to that audience, but done tastefully and smartly and like added value. I think that for me is sort of the promise to the audience that if you break it and all of a sudden you're starting to just be very commercial and, product first, I think like that is ultimately a betrayal of the audience. And I think that you will see that in the numbers and engagement. BMO has been really, really good and innovative with us, BMO Harris Bank, in terms of coming on board with crazy ideas that we don't know if it's going to work or like how it's going to be received.
Like what?
Well, like even the Cam Wilder thing, like that was the first time we had done a creator activation and they were, like they helped us out with like being a part of that, like a huge part of that. And I think they trusted us and, they're really smart marketers as well. But, that's a partner that's done weird stuff with us for a decade now. Like way back, we did narrative movies on Snapchat where we did a musical starring one of our players pretending to be, the bad guy in Beauty and the Beast, and BMO was on board with that too. So you find good partners who believe in you, and like if you're excited about an idea, they'll get excited about an idea. And I think that's just a natural part of the space. Brands have always been part of content, like from the beginning of time. Soap operas are called soap operas because they were originally funded by soap companies. The concept of branded content has always been something that has existed. And so fans and audiences are always going to be okay with that and embrace it as long as it's good, right? As long as it like maintains like a certain level.
So one of the things that you said there is delivering on the promise to your audience. And obviously when you're making, all of these new moves, whether that's working with creators or building out your YouTube strategy or just expanding your presence on social media, a lot of the goal of that is to expand your audience, whether that's internationally or into different demographics. So how do you balance maintaining and serving your core basketball fans while you're still trying to attract casual sports fans as well?
We're still a basketball team. Like, we still have that. You still offer highlights and behind the scenes stories of our players. And if you're a hardcore Bulls fan who doesn't care about anything else and thinks this creator stuff is just BS, like, you still have that, right? Like, we offer that still. I think the name of the game now is not being one thing. Like, you have to be many different things and be able to like reach people in different ways, because there's very few things that everyone consumes the exact same way. So I think that's an important thing for brands to remember, for sports teams to remember, and I think that's how you do it. We're still honest with just because Jesser took over the game didn't mean that we stopped covering like the basketball game, right? Like, they won that game. Like, we still had a lot of content from that game. The team played well. We still did all the things that we would normally do. And if you only cared about whether the Bulls won or lost that game, there was still content for you. Like, that Jesser stuff didn't interrupt. And so I think like that to me is like the important thing to remember, is just like everyone has like, you have to diversify because everybody has a completely different set of interests in their content diet.
So one of the things that you said as well is that, players are getting younger. They also understand this new media landscape. They were excited to meet Jesser, and so many of them are becoming creators themselves. I mean, they're posting content from the games. They're also posting behind the scenes content. Are you encouraging players to do that? And if so, are you helping them with the strategy at all?
So there are certain things that we can't do, right? Like, there's like certain services like teams can't offer players like outside of their contract. But I would say like we work hand in hand with them in a lot of ways. And I think that there's a lot of ways we kind of are able to cross over. It is something that we've noticed, obviously, and some more than others, but increasingly like you're seeing it. They don't just understand it and have their own TikToks or whatever. But Jared McCain is a really good example. He's a guard from the Oklahoma City Thunder who has his own YouTube channel. And when he got traded, this trade deadline from Philadelphia to Oklahoma City, he posted a video showing what it's like for a player to be traded from their perspective. I've never seen that before. I've seen teams do behind the scenes of like welcoming new players. Obviously, that's something that we've done as well. It was the first time I'd seen a player just be like, okay, here's me getting on the flight to like my new team. Here's like me going. And it was super interesting. And to me, it was like this like moment of like, wow, like this is the first time we're seeing it. Like, you're just going to see more of it. So I think that players will increasingly have their own platforms. And I think that that's ultimately a good thing, because as they continue to build their brands, like other brands rise together. So hopefully we find ways to kind of work together on that. The NBA is the content business ultimately. And I think players really understand that.
But it is also kind of like two full-time jobs, right? I mean, Kaya and I have been creating content now for 4 months. And like, there are not enough hours in the day for us to write a twice weekly newsletter, record a podcast once a week. I mean, how, do they balance that, the need to be developing content, but also being out on the court, playing a game or being at practice?
Well, I'm sure they have teams, right? They have content teams. We have 30 people working on content at the Bulls. It's not like a couple of people. What you guys do with 2 people is amazing, right? Like, it's like I think that I would guess that they have editors and like teams that they're working with, and I think they'll ultimately build themselves as creators. You know what I mean? Like, we talk a lot about creators. Like, players have this like big platform. There's a lot of opportunities if you're a player kind of coming up right now to own your story. But that's just kind of where society is going now, right? Like, it's like there's a podcast for every subject you could possibly be interested in. There's YouTube content for everything. I started randomly getting into chess last year, and I fell down the YouTube rabbit hole of like chess content. Like, there's like, if you like cooking, there's like plenty there. So there's something out there for everyone. And I think we're a content forward society, for better or for worse. And I think like that's something that I think brands need to continue to recognize. We also don't own the spaces anymore, right? Like, we don't have, it's so easy to make content now. It's so easy to everyone has a phone in their pocket that they can like make videos with now, right? There's not this like barrier to entry of you need expensive equipment and you need to be this like huge company with deep pockets to like make content. Like, anybody can do it. And I think what results in that is like, you don't automatically get an audience because you're big. Like, you have to make good content and smart strategic content.
What are the ramifications of that, from the Bulls perspective of not owning these platforms, right? You don't own the distribution when you're on YouTube, for example.
There's pluses and minuses to everything, but you have to look at it as an opportunity. Like,
what are some of the pluses and minuses?
A plus is that it's in theory democratized, so that if you make really good content that's for a specific audience and it resonates with people, like it finds an audience, right? Like the content we created in January around Derrick Rose's jersey retirement, the numbers are staggering. Like people were really interested in that. People really wanted to spend time with it, and like just deep diving into that, you're like, wow, like we created something that's good and like lasting, and we put it out on the YouTube platform and it found an audience. Like people watched it, right? And I think like that's really exciting as a plus. Like you can stand out like if you make good content and you have a plan. The minuses is you're at the mercy of an algorithm. You don't own like that audience. Like you're sort of like you're renting space, but everyone's in the same boat. You know what I mean? Like everyone is doing the same thing. And I just think the fact that there's no monoculture can be scary in a lot of ways, especially for brands that normally are like, we are the monoculture, like everyone is sitting down watching this. Like I just think like that can be scary in a lot of ways because you're just not given anything, right? Like it's just, you don't get to like just be the Bulls and like have a huge audience just because you have like that brand name. You have to do things to engage people or you become irrelevant. You have to earn it. Yeah.
So last question, looking more broadly beyond the Bulls, are there other teams or leagues or creators or brands that you look to for inspiration? Are there, certain companies that you think are building really well in this space?
I have always loved how Red Bull approaches content and content marketing. And I've always loved that they have their product, which is an energy drink. And then they have the culture that they're building and selling, which is, everybody kind of knows without even needing to be told what the culture is. And whether that's people skydiving or BMX bikers or like whatever, like it's a vibe. And I think that they've invested in that. They're constantly like doing things that are interesting, not necessarily even with like name brand people. Like it's like I think they were the first brand, I think, that like treated themselves as what we would now modernly call a creator, right? Like they were a creator brand. So I've always enjoyed seeing like what they've been doing. And past that, like we do look at like a lot of creators for inspiration more so than other teams because they're the ones who are doing it right and how they're structuring their videos and how they're like reaching people and how they're like engaging things. Even something as simple as like, to give you a very specific example, when Mr. Beast promotes his new YouTube videos, when he drops a new YouTube video, he doesn't like link it from when he's promoting it on like Twitter or Instagram or whatever. He's not like, here's a link to like my new video. He just says, I have a new video. It's, 10 people are in a hole and the last one to get out, whatever the video is. And he's like, check it out on YouTube. And so what that has people doing is going to YouTube, searching Mr. Beast video, people in a hole or whatever it is. And then the algorithm says people are searching for it, which then helps like the video continue to grow versus, platforms don't like it when you go one platform to another. Right. So even that insight, like that's how we started to promote our YouTube videos of just like, hey, our new All Access is out, check it out on YouTube with like a clip preview elsewhere. So there's like little things that like people are doing that they're like sort of figuring out how everything works. And you want to kind of take the inspiration from the people who are doing it right. And a lot of times in our space, it's creators like Jesser.
All right, Luka, rapid fire. What has been your favorite creator partnership so far?
It has to be the Jesser one. Like it just went so big.
Who is your favorite basketball player?
Oh, all-time Coutinho Mobley, who is a guard for the Rockets. His nickname was Cat, and he was just the coolest vibe ever.
If you had to pick YouTube Shorts, TikTok, or Instagram Reels?
TikTok.
Favorite sport other than basketball?
Boxing.
Why?
That's my weird, quirky sport that I've always loved, and the one I've never worked in, and I'm okay with that. It's like I've always loved boxing. As messy and as niche and as convoluted as it can be, there's something different about it than any other sport to me.
I'm a hockey fan myself.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I mean, coming from Finland, you have to be a hockey fan. You're basically just born into it. You have no choice in the matter.
One of our top YouTube videos ever is a Speaking Finnish segment that we did with Lauri Markkanen a few years back. It's one of our like most viewed all-time YouTube videos.
Okay, somebody tell me how you're supposed to really say that. Pysähtykää. Kisiakia. Ciao, ciao.
What global sporting event should everybody attend at least once in their life?
We did a segment for our YouTube on the Partizan versus Red Star Belgrade Derby rivalry game, and it is by far the craziest atmosphere that I have ever been to in any sport. And I'm not just saying that because I'm Serbian.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jasmine.
Thank you so much, Luka, for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, this was awesome. I really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed pretending like I was a real podcaster in the studio with you guys today.